Hello everyone, welcome to this first episode of my podcast. Today I have Jean-Alex with me. The topic today will be on cultural heritage, which is his personal project as part of his identity quest. To start, can you tell us about your background and introduce yourself, or your name, etc.? Yeah.
Hello, thanks you for having me here. So I'm Jean-Alex. I'm an artist and designer. I'm 29 years old and I was born in Paris. And I'm Chinese-Khmer-French. And yes, so I studied I studied design in Paris. And yes, so I just graduated last year, and I'm happy to do like this art residency in Phnom Penh today.
So first things first, since we're setting up everything, do you like tea or coffee?
I prefer tea.
Tea, okay. Are you familiar with tea brands?
Yes.
Okay, so I have TWG. Do you know about this brand?
No.
So it's actually it's a Singaporean brand, and then I have also Lupicia. It's a Japanese brand, and they have a store in Paris. So I really like the quality of their green tea because I love green tea. So what do you want actually, like green tea?
The Japanese one, because I love the packaging.
Okay. Last question about tea, but is it linked to your Asian culture that you like tea more than coffee or not?
Yes, because I always drink tea since I was a kid, and coffee it's only for adults. So I think it stayed in my mind. Okay. And when I tried coffee, actually, my heartbeat was so strong. I was so nervous, so I just keep it with tea.
So you mentioned that you have been studying in arts. Can you tell us more about what pushed you to go I need to study about that?
Yes, so when I was a kid, I was doing a lot of arts activities. I was playing piano, and I was doing ceramics too. It was hobbies that I was doing besides school, and I really kept the ceramic activity because I had a teacher who is my mentor. And she pushed me to develop my artistic practice. And in high school, when it was time for me to choose the path, I chose the scientific path. Okay. But then I was I'm not good for science, so I will just follow what I like and I want. And actually, I went to an exhibition. It was a ceramic exhibition in Paris. And it was the first exhibition that I've been to, and when I saw that people were actually practice ceramic at their jobs, I wanted to do the same. So so I started to study applied arts. So in the first year, you experimenting many kinds of design, and then I chose product design, and now I try to also have an artistic practice on above of my design.
So you're from Paris, right? Can you tell us first about your location in France?
Yes. So I grew up in south suburbs of Paris.
Okay, so even your art school was in Paris?
I did several art school, but yeah, the main one was in Paris.
Oh, so you switched from different art schools?
Yes. I had many degrees. First, it was a preparatory degree, so I started in the suburbs. Then I did a 2-year degree in product design, also in the suburbs. And so it was a time for me to prepare myself for the Parisian art school that are much harder to get in. Yes, and then I spent 7 years in the Parisian art school.
Wow, it's 7 years?
Yes.
So wait, total, basically you did 7 to almost more than 10 years of studying?
No, 9 years.
9 years, okay.
But it's a lot.
Yeah, okay. Master degree, right? You graduated from master degree. Okay. Okay. Do you mind sharing the name of those art schools? So, because I'm sure some people might be interested in that.
The first one is in Vitry-sur-Seine, called Lycée Adolphe Chérieux. The second one is Lycée François Mansart. First one was preparatory classes, and second one was a 2-year degree. Like it's called BTS, Design de Produit, but now it doesn't exist anymore. Okay. And then the last one is NC Les Ateliers. It's École Nationale Supérieure de Création Industrielle. This one is in near Bastille.
Okay. And then what were your parents' like reaction to wanting to study arts? Because I think for Asians family, it's not always obvious, right?
I guess they were not so surprised because they saw that I liked arts a lot, and it's like my passion. Actually, I don't know how to say it.
No, that's right.
Sorry for my accent. And then, yes, when I studied art, they really saw that I was working very hard to have a good results, to get to the good schools. So I guess they trust me, and I'm very thankful for that. Yes.
So you started in industrial design, right?
Yes.
So how is it linked to ceramics, or is it a new part of art that you wanted to dive into?
Yes, so studying design, I wanted to explore many ways to create objects or arts. So that's why I chose to design, yes. I didn't want to be stuck into one material. Yes.
I'm really curious about the people you met during your studies,
Yes.
because when you decide on a path that you want to study, you might end up meeting people that are more similar compared to when you were in high school, where people are really mixed, you don't really know who you meet.
So when I decided to study art, I was like happy because I could share my what I like with many people, and we have common things to talk to each other.
I wanted to bring some sweets, but I'm trying something new. It's like a brand called Noemi. And I ordered online, like they have an Instagram page, and they sell cannoli. So the packaging is really cute.
Looks like a gift.
I asked for like a discovery
Wow.
set. Yeah, it's so pretty.
It smells so good.
Really?
It's like the
Oh,
real
true, true.
cannoli.
So we have to give their like honest feedback. We have like 3 different kinds. I think the original one, is there whiskey in like cannoli? Like there's rum.
Maybe,
Okay.
yeah.
That, and then we have one which is like lemon. I don't know which one it is. And then the other one is like mascarpone cream. Okay, après la pause. So actually, when you were doing your artist talk, I wrote some questions I thought of. Yeah, I have a lot of questions related to culture. So I'm hoping, like, can you start like introducing your project related to culture first?
I did a documentary project about like the stories of the Cambodian diaspora in France. So it's a video documentary composed of 4 portraits, and the idea was to ask the Khmer diaspora in France about their stories, and I used cooking recipes as a way to interact with them, because I always found very hard to discuss about the topic of exile or the Khmer Rouge, the war, for instance, to my parents. The idea that through food, I found it was easier for them to talk about without forcing them, like with like too frontal questions.
But so how old were you when you first were asking yourself questions about your culture and the Khmer history?
I was always attracted to Asian cultures, but I think maybe when I started to study arts, yes, because I feel like if you really want to express yourself into arts, you need to know about yourself, right? So for me, what I did is that I used my project to fulfill my identity quests.
So were you ever like lost about like wanting to know more about your background, but asking people like in your family, but they were not like receptive or not giving you the answers you were looking for? Have you ever felt that?
I was more like to say shy to ask too much, so I didn't even really try it, let's say. So, but I really wanted to come to Cambodia because I didn't know anything about this part of my culture, right? Because like I knew that my parents were born here, but growing up in France, we had more like the Chinese part in our everyday life. So yes, and also when I was a kid, I had the chance to travel to China.
Okay.
So, yes, I didn't know anything about the Khmer culture, so I had the chance to come here for the first time for an internship. I spent like 5 months here, living here, and it was also like the first time that I was leaving my parents' home. Like I was living here by myself, so it was kind of a full trip, like for my work, like growing up as a designer, and also like for my identity quest, like looking for my heritage.
Okay, I'm curious, like in your family, are you the oldest child?
Yes, I have one younger brother.
Okay, I'm wondering if it's like linked to being the oldest, that's always like looking for like or background or something, because I'm also the oldest child, and I feel like compared to my sisters, I'm asking the most questions about who were our ancestors, like what's exactly in our history and all. So have you ever had like this discussion with your brother?
I think he doesn't ask himself that much question that I do, but I guess it's not really depending of if you are the oldest or one or younger. I think it's more about the each people's sensibility, and yes, and it depends which how to say it, like how you interfere with your own culture. I think some people can live like until very old without asking this, but at some point I wish everyone to know more about their roots, because it's like reveal like something about your identity, where you are. Knowing where you are coming from helps you to see the world through your own eyes, because otherwise I feel like you see the world as the society wants you to see it.
Good point. Good point. So you said you first came in Cambodia when you were alone, right? You came as a solo travel.
Yes.
So your parents never had the urge to come back to Cambodia?
Yes, for family reasons, but they never came for holidays or something like that, because they were maybe too busy to work, or it's a long travel.
What were their reaction when you said that actually you had the idea of planning a trip to Cambodia by yourself, and it's not them pushing you to? Because sometimes like Asian parents are actually the one to push their kids to go to their country of origin so that they can know about the culture. But in this case, it was more of the child wanting to go.
Yes.
What was their reaction?
So yes, maybe they still feel a bit weird for me, like seeing me like trying to find my identity in Cambodia, but because for them they left the country during the wartime when they were still young, maybe between 11 or 14 years old. So maybe for them in their head they had to put a cross on this part of their culture. So that's why also they didn't transmit it. Your origins are not it's not your only thing that define your identity, but growing up with the French culture, Chinese and Cambodian culture, you never know where to put yourself. So yes, and when I was a child, I couldn't even make the difference between Chinese and Khmer. Because like my parents say you can say you are Cambodian, but we are growing up in Chinese culture, so like it's like when you're a kid it's very hard to make the difference. And even when you don't even know the history, like you don't even know why there are Chinese Cambodian here in Cambodia.
So when you say Chinese culture, is it Teochew? Right?
Yes.
Okay. So does your growing up in your family, which language were they speaking? More Teochew than
Teochew,
Khmer?
yes.
Oh, okay.
They cannot speak Khmer anymore. Yes, they forgot all because they didn't practice. I think they can understand a lot, but speaking it is harder.
So you've never been exposed to like Khmer language, right?
Through my aunt and uncles, like who are older.
Okay, so basically your parents were younger, that's why they couldn't
Yes.
keep the language.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
okay, interesting. Because I'm quite surprised because I know that in Cambodia, the Cambodian diaspora, diaspora, right? You have like the ones who like kept their Teochew heritage
Yes.
stronger than the Khmer one. So even the children, they would consider themselves more Teochew than
Yes,
even Cambodian.
yes.
But some other parents, they would say, when people ask me where I am from, they would say I'm Cambodian. But even though they know they're like they have like
Chinese
yeah,
background.
exactly. So it really depends like their relationship with their like culture. So it's interesting. Yeah.
Actually, like doing my research for my documentary, I read like a thesis of a student from Sciences Po called Daniel Tran, and in this thesis, like learned that in Cambodia, many Chinese came like long time ago already, and Cambodia is actually like a territory where there was a lot of mixed cultures, like.
Do you feel like you would project yourself living in Cambodia, or do you still feel quite attached to France and you don't really see yourself going anywhere aside from France?
I would say I don't want to stay in France like all my life. I would like to move here and here, but yes, it's for now I'm still exploring. So I think I will keep going there, going back here from France and Cambodia or somewhere else.
And I think like coming to Cambodia alone was quite like brave, because I'm sure like in your family there will be, wow, like he went alone and for the first time. How was it like navigating in Cambodia without knowing the language, right? How did you meet new people? How was it?
Actually, I first came with my family for a few weeks for holidays, and then they left, and I stayed there by myself. So it was not totally like a solo trip. So yes, but during my trip like 5 years ago, so in 5 months, I spent a lot. I met many people, right, and I stay with a lot, kind of different group of people. Like at first, I stayed a lot with the let's say expats groups, but then I met some local friends and local artists, and so yeah, step by step, like expanded
Yeah.
like the people I met.
But how was the first time that you got introduced to new people?
Through my internship.
Ah, okay, yeah,
Yes,
right.
through my internship. So that's the first way to meet people. It was for an NGO. So basically, I was working like as a designer to create a product that could be made by the local families here, so they could sell it and create a business by themselves. Yes, so I was designing product that with materials that we could easily find here.
Okay. And so did you get to learn about the language by staying in 5 months?
When I stayed only with the expat, no.
Of course, yeah.
And now, like, when I go back to France, I take some Khmer class.
Oh, nice.
It's actually
Okay.
so hard to learn Khmer.
I see.
So yes, I'm learning Khmer since 3 years now.
Wow, okay.
And I can barely speak.
But you can understand better maybe, you know?
Yes,
Okay.
because I learned the alphabet, so it's the first way to have the good pronunciations.
Oh, yeah, right.
Right.
So you can read too?
A little bit,
Oh,
yes,
okay,
but
okay.
I don't know what I'm reading.
Exactly,
Yes,
exactly.
and I co-founded the Khmer-French Association in
right.
Paris. Yes.
Tell us more about this association.
So, like, I met some friends in Khmer school in Paris, right? So, and we were sharing a lot about this identity quests, and so on. And so we wanted to create our own association in order to gather the community. So we gave like Khmer course, like it's a way to meet each other every week. And then we have also some cultural activities, like we celebrate the Khmer New Year. and many other stuff.
And do you feel like all those people feel the same as you? Like they want to know more about their like culture?
It's very surprising when I first met people who had the same question as me, because I felt like I was the only one, but actually we are many people sharing the same questions about our heritage, cultural heritage. So yes, so that's why we wanted to create a space for this encounter between people could happen.
But could it be like people that are not Cambodian who wants to know more also about the...
No, it's more targeting the diaspora,
Okay,
Khmer
got it.
diaspora. Yes. Because we want to
Okay.
create a safe space to freely talk about different kind of topics like racism, colonialism, something like that.
Mostly young people, or you've had
Yes.
like adults? Okay.
Yes.
And if like let's say like some listeners want to reach out to this like community, like you call it association community, how can they reach out? Like
We have an Instagram account called PoumaKhmer, so PMK. You can find it on Instagram, and you can reach us through.
And so directly they get into the community, or there's an interview?
No, you have to. It's like an association, so you have to like subscribing to the association.
And it's located in Paris, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then after this like 4 or 5 months, do you feel more Cambodian than you were before you ever stepped foot in Cambodia?
Feeling more Cambodian. I think I could not say that I cannot divide myself, right? So I think my identity is like a whole thing. So maybe I will not say I'm feeling more Cambodian, but I'm feeling more like myself, like with all this complex identity, yes, and mixed cultures.
And what's your relationship with being Techo also like? Because it's more difficult to find like answers about this part, right?
Actually, being Techo, right? Actually, when you live in the 13th arrondissement of Paris, you met a lot of Techo, so you have a lot of representations. And also, when I was a kid, growing up with my grandfather, I think he transmitted a lot of the Techo parts.
So you can understand and speak.
Understand more than speaking.
Okay. What about like in terms of languages? So you speak French, English, you can understand Techo, and now Khmer.
A bit.
Any other languages?
Mandarin Chinese.
Oh yeah, from school, right?
Yes.
Is it like parents telling you to?
Yes,
Okay.
to learn Chinese when I was young.
So how's your level? Like, is it B2 level?
Beginner.
Okay.
Yes, I didn't like it to go to Chinese school when I was a kid, so I was not really a good student. Okay. Yes.
And right now, are you interested in learning Mandarin by yourself?
Yes, I would be interested, but it's like no
not
time.
Your priority? Yeah. Yes. Okay. And learning English, so do you think easier for you to learn like English or any other languages because you were at home exposed to a foreign language already, aside from French?
To learn English?
Yeah, English, or maybe learning Khmer because you already knew other languages.
I guess I was always interested to culture that are outside of France, because I felt like I wanted to see another perspective of what I was learning from French media or French school. So yes, I was always interested into international things. So naturally, I learned English. But actually, I learned English because when I was young, I watched a lot of K-drama and Taiwanese drama and Japanese drama. And so the subtitles were only in English. So I learned English watching a lot of series.
But so initially you couldn't understand anything, right? Because you couldn't speak English when you were very young. But
yes.
And the language was in Korean or anything else?
I learned at school. Basically,
okay.
I learned at school, but then I
improved.
Yeah, improved through this.
And like observing other Asian communities in in France, for example, Vietnamese community or Chinese community, what would be the main differences with the Cambodian diaspora? For example, for me, I feel like of course more people know about like Vietnamese culture and all, but there are some like communities, for example, Chinese, that have kept their like language more than like, for example, Cambodian families, right?
I think when we talk about Asian diasporas, mainly we think to East Asians like Chinese, but we forget about South Asia like Indian people. Even Cambodia is not really known. Yes, in France.
Especially when people ask, oh, what food do you actually eat in Cambodia? Usually the first thing that pops up or into people's mind is like Loklak maybe. But I think Loklak is not even Khmer. I think originally it's Vietnamese. So do you know a bit more about Cambodian food that you would suggest to your friends in France?
Yes. Now that I have a better view on the different cultures, I know better about the Cambodian culture, and with our association, it's also a way to learn more about the Cambodian dishes, the traditions.
Now going back a little bit into arts, can you tell us more about what is the residency system?
So a residency basically is a way for artists to develop their artistic practice. So they are welcomed by an artistic organism. It could be like any cultural institutions. For my residency here, for instance, for 6 weeks, and I'm so the Sasa art project, the organism that hosts me, give me a space to work, a studio, and then you create a project and you interact with the community here. You have been given a space to work and develop your practice and extend it also, because like for instance here it's an experimental arts residency, so you can explore a lot.
And do you have to give something back to the like organism, like give a piece of work or?
It's more like sharing about artistic practices. So like doing an artist talk is like exchange with the community, right?
Do you feel a kind of like pressure as an artist to have to express your culture through art? Because I'm thinking like maybe there might be a Cambodian artist who might be more inspired from like, I don't know, Chinese culture or Western culture. Do you think it's like something that like mandatory an artist has the how do you say responsibility of expressing their own culture through art, or they're free to express any kind of form of like culture?
I think everyone is free to express whatever they want, but like the topic of missing culture into the diaspora community is so untold that I had the feeling that I should work on this. And also like when you're asking yourself these questions, like it takes a lot of time of thinking and a lot of energy, so you want to explore it through your projects, right? So, and also as an artist and designer, like you have some tools to express concepts, like something very abstract. And actually, that's what I kind of explored for this residency. It's like how through a drawing or a painting or an art installation you can express abstract concept or a feeling, and that can experience it and create, also relate to it with their own stories.
Okay. So for being a resident, do you need to have a specific portfolio to like get approval from that organism, or they're quite open to any profile?
No, you always need a portfolio so people can see your work, and people need to know about if your practice can fit what they want to develop, or if it can bring something new to the community. And yes.
And so moving forward, do you hope to do other residencies outside of Cambodia, or do you really want to come back to Cambodia? Like,
I think I would really I would like to come back to Cambodia to develop the project that I started, and doing other residencies too. To still talking about my favorite topics that are transmission, cultural heritage. Yes.
Because one of the first residency like system I heard about was in Tuscany in Italy, and basically it was called like Villa Lena. I don't know if you heard about it. They were very focused on arts and like local products. So basically, farm to table system for the restaurant. So they were growing everything on site, and then they had a artist like house where they were like inviting for like I think 1 or 2 month residency for different artists, and then as like guests for the villa or hotels, we were given like some workshop classes. Yeah. Workshops, and it was really I kind of felt like very inspired because I really like arts and like mingling arts with hospitality because it was one of my major. I got to chat with those artists and they were all very inspiring. Most of them really liked traveling, learning about new cultures, and also they were giving back at the end of their residency a piece of their work. So the place, the hotel, the villa would change whenever there were new like artists because one more new like painting or like I don't know, they would host like a concert during their stays. So I really like that. Going back about like culture, it's a form of art. Writing illustration book called. So I know the title in French is like L'année du lèvre. Have you heard about it? No. So basically, it's like writer. Like a cartoon writer artist, and he wrote about the Khmer Rouge episode through like illustration and a story, and I think that there are 3 books, and it was the first time that I could see a real like book about Cambodian like Khmer Rouge era. So if you want to check it out, maybe you can learn about things about like what happened. Sure. Yeah. Do you feel more comfortable in Cambodia or in France at the moment?
Hard question. I feel it depends. Comfortable in which situation?
Okay. So, for example, I guess in France you'll be more comfortable in the sense that you have your family still in France.
Yes.
And here you're like comfortable because there are people sharing part of your culture.
Yes. Maybe I feel comfortable in Cambodia when I can be myself fully. Yes, and in the street you can see people that looks like you. But even if, like, in Cambodia, people think I'm not Khmer, people think I'm, like, Japanese or Korean, because maybe of the outfit style, or something like that. And in France, yes, I feel comfortable because I have friends and family, and it's where I grew up, even if there are a lot of unsafe places.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially for people who have never been to France or they would love to visit Paris, I often tell them you should be very careful about security because I feel like more safe in Cambodia personally, even though like even in the tuk-tuk you can get your like phone stolen, but overall I feel like people in Cambodia are very like hospitable and very nice. So yeah, it's a different culture. But same, I do feel like France is comfortable in a way because we share the same education, so like same mentality, I would say. But then in Cambodia, you have the Asian culture, eating with like chopsticks, things like that. So yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, anything else you want to add?
Yes, and I feel like yes, our mixed culture like give us like some advantages and disadvantages. So yeah, it's very complex and it's hard to deal with it, like when you don't know about the history. So that's like what we were talking about, finding your roots, right? I think like when you know about your roots, you can build up your identity on it and through the past to be yourself.
I read like a quote, but I cannot like tell it exactly what it said. But basically, it said, "You're not what happened to you, but you're what you choose to become." But in a way, knowing where you come from first helps, and then from that base, you can decide how you want to grow with it, right?
Yes, yes.
I think there are like pros and cons from having different cultures, because in a way, you can be who you want to be, because for example in Cambodia I kind of feel more French. When I'm in France I kind of feel more Asian, so kind of like chameleon. I don't know how you say that in English, but yeah, I kind of feel like that. So it's a pro in a way, but the con part is that you kind of can feel not completely one thing, right? Like let's say you're with a group of friends for who are Cambodian, you kind of cannot identify yourself from like different, like some cultural elements.
I think, yes, we should not forget about the history, like French colonialism in Cambodia, that it creates like, how to say, like it's the base of the racism, for instance, in France, and the invisibility of Asians in France. So when you learn history and when you are aware of all of this, then the picture becomes more clear, let's say.
Okay, well, that was something interesting that I learned during your artist talk, because I think mostly when I think about Cambodian culture, I end up stopping at the time from the Khmerish era that makes the rest of the history, but I haven't like really dived into the colonialism part of history that made Cambodia what it is today. So I might like have to learn more about that, and I think I'm also hoping to read more Cambodian book history, things like that. But if you have any books to recommend that you've read, I think that could, like, for any Cambodian who wants to know more about the culture, you would recommend reading any books?
For me, maybe I have several books. Eleanor Sok, she's a journalist, and she wrote about a book called Les Cambodgiens. It's all French books. Okay. Karine Sitz, she wrote a book called Tout ce que nous sommes. Okay. So she also talked about her Chinese-Khmer culture, and it's very well illustrated. More about racism, like, of course, to listen to the podcast, Kif Taras.
What about movies?
Movies, I really like the movie called It's About Food. Sucré Salé by Taiwanese.
And it talks about Cambodia?
No, talks more about. I like it because it talks more about the relationship with the family through cooking.
Okay, that I found also interesting in your research, that your approach to culture through food as a way to like communicate better with people who might not want to express themselves. So it's quite nice, yeah. So maybe can you tell us more about your next projects, or something that is coming up soon? I don't know.
Coming up soon. My open studio in Cambodia next week.
Okay. When is the date and where?
It's the 20th of July. It will be a Sasa art project in Phnom Penh, and I will show my research that I did during the art residency here. And I mainly study research about the Khmer ceramic and how I was interested into the traditional pots that were produced in Cambodia, and how it was part of kind of everyday lifestyle, and how it has changed, and how the lifestyle has changed now. And I was interested into what to do with cultural heritage and how it can be like the containers of memories and culture, and how it can transform.
And I got a question from Chandi, who's asking where would be or when would be your next residency?
I don't know.
Because you're going back to France soon,
yes,
right?
I think because for now, I'm renting a studio workplace in Paris with my friends. So
at the moment still?
Yes.
Wow, so you're paying the rent?
Yeah, but it's like a small rent for Paris, because it's like for artists. And so I'm sharing with her. So I have it for 1 year. So I will keep exploring, and then I will see.
Any friends in your surrounding that are artists who have been inspired by your work and want to visit Cambodia or something? Who are not Cambodian, or could be Cambodian, from your association, and want to visit Cambodia soon?
Yes, I had the chance to have friends coming to
right
here.
Now?
They already left, but they passed by Cambodia during their trip.
So before we wrap up, I have a few, I think, more random questions about yourself. For example, something new in your life that you want to implement in the future, like a new habit, something you want to improve.
To draw more because before I wasn't drawing that much, hand drawings, and I feel like I want to make it more on habits.
Okay, drawing linked to objects or like other topics?
I'm doing more like I like to do abstract drawings,
Okay.
so maybe I would like to develop this more.
A story where you felt that you were different from others, like an episode in your life where you realized, oh, I feel different.
Mainly when I did like my Parisian art school, I felt so different from other students.
Okay. Although you were sharing the same hobby.
Yes, I feel linked with all the students because we are in the same school and we share like many interesting topics about design, arts. But I felt different culturally speaking because there are mainly white people and so not much people from diaspora. So it was very hard for me to find the answers to my questions when you are the only one living through this, right? But fortunately, I could meet some people who helped me through this journey.
Okay. Something new that you recently like learned about yourself, like could be, I don't know, yesterday you ate something.
That I've learned
about your personality or like about things you like. I don't know.
I feel like I should listen myself more, like trust my feelings more.
Okay, which you usually don't.
I do, but I trust my brain more. Now I'm trying to balance between the two. Like,
okay, do you know your MBTI by any chance? Have you heard about?
What is it?
So MBTI is a personality test.
Okay.
They're like basically, according to this like study, there are 16 types of personality, and there's a quiz online. You can try it out and then figure out what type of person you are. Then let me just guess your MBTI, and you can tell me later what you are. So I would say I, because you're introvert, and because you're an artist, so you're very creative and very in your head, having a lot of ideas. And then T, because you trust your brain first. And then the last letter is whether or not you're very organized or not organized. That I don't have an idea.
Organized, like
you're planning ahead and you're very like on time. But I would say you're not.
No.
Because based on like you being very stressed about your deadline,
yes.
So I'm thinking you might be so P. So INTP. Okay, Jean-Lex, thank you so much for being the first guest on my podcast. I hope that you had like fun and a great time sharing about your culture and your projects. I hope that next time that we have a podcast, because I'm hoping we're going to have another one, whether it's in France or in Cambodia, that whenever I will be asking the same question might be different, and that we can see your evolution in your answers. Yeah, do you want to share anything before we wrap up?
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I'm looking forward for the next episodes.
Thank you. See you.
See you. Bye.